E te iwi tēnā koutou, I roto I tēnei pō, kia ora katoa tātou. Kia ora everybody, Che Wilson here from Te Pai Pai Waho, connecting to you tonight through a number of different platforms. And it's Kei Te Makachili. Makachili Rawatu. And tonight's kaupapa is a continuation of identity. It's number 6. And we're talking about the strength of identity and how or whether it's even beneficial. Hoi anō, before we get into that, e mi I kaua tuana kia koutou katoa. I see it's been pretty freezing around the country, and that, there's been a bit of snow down south. There's definitely a bit of snow at home, and me I kaua tuana. As I was looking out on the farm today and just looking up onto the maunga and then out towards the kaimanawas, geez, just stunning. The snow is beautiful. And just want to acknowledge the kōrero from last week. I had a heap of messages, and then the next morning I was in Wellington and had a good talk to our Te Atiawa Whanaunga, nā reira bro, he kura, e mi ana kia koe, and the considerations that our iwi, our whanaunga, the iwi that live in the large cities, and those considerations that they have to do. And I think in the 3 large areas, especially Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, they have to consider things a lot differently to those that live in the provincial cities. So e mihi ana kia koe kura for your whakaaro and how you as Ātiawa and Taranaki whānui have to navigate things in Pōneke. But also appreciated the stats that some of you sent through, including the fact that over 800,000 Māori live around the world. So that's almost more Māori living away from here than living here. Kātiake, let's get into this week's kaupapa and the strength of identity. And I suppose one of the key reasons why I started this conversation on identity was because I know that it's the strength of my identity that's given me opportunities to travel the world, to get different jobs. And I know how much it's helped me in my life and avowed me with all of these different pathways to beneficial growth, not just for me, but also for my people. And that confidence that it gives you can take you places. And want to acknowledge that fact, but also be quite open about it. Because the more that we can be strong in our identity, the more we can then also identify our blind spots. And the more that we identify our blind spots, I think that gives us more strength. Many will refer to that as weakness, whereas I actually think it's a strength. And when you have identity to fill in those gaps, it can take you to another place, because often many will have internal conversations about the gaps. If only I had this, if only I had that. I can't do that because I don't have that. Well, what I know is that it's the strength of my identity that actually puts a lot of that noise to sleep. In addition, there's a whole heap of research out there that's showing that through the strength of identity that's been nurtured through kohanga reo, kura kaupapa and whare kura, that those that are taught in the strong kura kaupapa and whare kura, their ability to excel in any form of education is pretty amazing. And there's been research that's been showing this for years, but because it's easier to talk about the negative, we then go to some funny places. And we then convince ourselves of other bad things, which then ensures that we stay in the status quo rather than following a path where the research has already shown that through the strength of identity, it can be amazing. Another point about the strength of identity is when you're strong in your identity, you then start to connect to others. And I know whether you look at the Greeks, the Jews, whoever else, um, even the Catholics, I know that being a Catholic myself, that ethnic or religious groupings, when you're strong in that identity, it can take you to other doorways and other pathways to opportunity, and actually to a range of forms of success. And I say a range of forms because in the past, money was the only identifier of success, which isn't a helpful measure. It's just one measure. And I know that these networks have been able to help us. And so when I think about the strength of identity, I was out looking at the stars tonight, which is why I'm late. And I just wanted to see, not because it's not the best moon to look at things, but I just wanted to see what things are like after a snowfall. And I noticed a couple of things. But it's my strength of identity which can take me out there and just go and have a look, even if I don't know which one's Larry and which one's Ned. I do know a few things. But when I'm with others who then do know that Larry's name is actually Parearo or Ned's name is actually Rehua, don't get me wrong, I do know those stars. But when people mention these different things, what it does is I can then help join dots for them because, through that, the building of identity, the learning of song, of different narratives and proverbs, etc., all of that kōrero tukuiho, once they mention the name of a star, point it out, go, oh, well, there's some kōrero, this is some kōrero for that. And you can only do that when you're strong enough in your identity to know that you might not know which star's which, but you know the kōrero that you've got, and then you can share it with those that know the stars. And by sharing together, that then grows each other's knowledge more. So you don't need to know everything, but know what you know and know it well. And if you know it well, that can then open doorways for you to then learn more. Because what you do know, you know well, and then you can share it with others, and they then share, and the whole act of reciprocity continues. And that takes us to the importance of being collective in knowledge and collective in mind. And when you're like that, the world's your oyster. So kātiake, just a short little kōrero tonight. It's freezing, so stay warm. E me I kau atu ana ki koutou, o tira ki tātou, I roto I tēnei pō, rire au. Pai mārire.